I'm Ella Griffin, Autistic Nottingham's head of PR, and with me I have Elsa and Sara, who run the autism parody news website, the Daily Tism.
Hello, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm going to ask them some questions because we all want to know why they do the things they do. Like I'm an autism researcher, but less disturbing. Okay, so my first question is, why did you start the website?
Oh, Elsa, do you want to field this one?
Okay, I can lead on this one. So there was a lot of content out there in the autism community, which we've really enjoyed and we've read ourselves. But a lot of it isn't funny, and a lot of it is quite serious and moving and poignant, and that's really important stuff to be out there. But we saw a gap where we wanted to create something that was amusing, that kind of made light of autism and sort of poked fun at ourselves as well, because we didn't think there was enough of that.
Yeah, totally. I think there's so much room for different voices, and comedic voices like Fern Brady and Joe Wells, I think, are amazing, and we love that sort of thing, and we just wanted to see more of it. And my background was in like satire in the Daily Mash, and I ran a satirical women's magazine called Succubus with Kat Sadler, and so it just seemed like the obvious format for us to do, where, like, you know, you can poke fun at people but kind of hide behind this very earnest, newsy tone that we enjoy.
One thing I'm interested in is how all other autistics reacted to this. I mean, myself, every time you come up my feed, Autistic Nottingham always reacts with a laughing face, because that's what I'm doing. But how have autistics generally reacted to this?
It's mostly been really positive, hasn't it? Like, people have been really amazing. There's one person who really doesn't like us. Who quote tweets everything we do and is like, these people. But everyone else has been really positive and lovely. I think there have been a couple of people who haven't been sure what it is at first, and who've been like, you know, is maybe just taken the bait for a second and gone, is this a joke? Which I think is something we anticipated. But like, for all the we don't understand sarcasm or satire or comedy, as a community, I think we mostly do, when the joke's not, like, when we're not being pointed at and laughed, when we're a joke.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you hear things like autistic people don't get humour? I don't think they've considered maybe the joke they're telling isn't necessarily very funny.
Exactly, exactly. Like, I think there's a lot of... Sorry, carry on.
No, I was going to say, just lots of autistic people have found the Daily Tism funny, and that's been, I think we were kind of in the beginning sort of like, are people going to take it literally? Are people going to maybe get offended? But it's been mostly really a welcome surprise that people have been so positive. So yeah.
All right, fantastic. Now I've got a slightly different question. How have non-autistics reacted to this? Have they even noticed it? I mean, we know they're not very observant. They don't even have special interests.
My grandma was not happy about it. She was not happy. She felt it's patronising to neurotypicals. It's like, Grandma, that's the joke. That's the joke, is we're talking to people as people talk to autistics. And she was like, no, she did not like it. But most neurotypical people have either ignored it or been like, oh, I've learned a lot. And it's like, great. We like to educate.
I think occasionally you also get like a neurotypical person that says, well, I relate to that and I'm not autistic. And that has happened a few times.
Aren't you now?
Yeah, exactly. I think there are elements of, I think also what we wanted to say with the Daily Tism was that, like, people assume that being autistic is this thing that it's really unrelatable, really, like, nobody will get it other than autistic people. But actually, if you sort of pick it apart, a lot of what we're experiencing is quite rational and understandable, and like, oh yeah, I get that. So I think maybe the mental journey some neurotypicals have been on is like, well, that makes sense that somebody would feel like that. I feel slightly like this when this happens to me. So they might not experience it in exactly the same way, but they might, some of the feelings, like not liking small talk, like lots of people may not enjoy that. They might not be incapable of doing it, but they may just not enjoy it, and that's an example.
I love the thing, Elsa, that you always say about autistic traits being human traits dialed way up. And I think that's, I think autism is like a neurology of extremes in that way, like either hypo or hypersensitive. And so it's a kind of way of evoking empathy in non-autistic people. I know that's hard for them. They struggle with empathy, but we are trying, I think, to also evoke that in them where it's possible, despite their deficiencies. I'm kidding. But Grandma, I'm joking. I'm so sorry.
Right, so this is one I've been personally curious. So how do you find the time to write the articles?
We write everywhere, don't we? We write in bed. We write on the loo. Well, that's just me. We write. Yeah, we like. I will usually get up in the morning and write, like, on a day that I'm writing for the Daily Tism. I'll write like 5 or 6 just in the morning before breakfast, or like while I'm getting ready to do other stuff, because they're quite quick fire. And I guess the process is constantly ongoing with me and Elsa. A lot of it is just our friendship in article form, like it's just stuff we chatted about that day, and then one of us will be talking about a problem and the other one will just shout a headline out, and then that will become an article. So I think it's such a short form, snappy format that they're really quick fire to write. And then there's 2 of us, so we edit each other's work and we do joke passes, and then usually some time will elapse between when we write and when we publish, so we'll have time to go back in and tinker and make sure it's not like we write them in 2 seconds and it's done, it's over. But it doesn't feel like a heavy workload when you're doing it, I don't think.
Yeah, the good thing about it is that it's quite fast paced. Like, the articles aren't maybe the length of an article that you'd find in a newspaper, for instance. They're full of jokes and one-liners and things like that. So yeah, I tend to write sort of last thing at night, first thing in the morning. And you'll see, like, in me and Sara's WhatsApp group, we'll just be firing headlines at each other, and then sending each other stuff. So yeah, no, it's a really, so I think some people assume that we're like churning them out every day and putting them on immediately, but we do have like a backup of stuff that we use that we've created prior.
Oh yeah, we're about a month ahead of ourselves at most times, unless both of us get really busy. But we try to make sure we've got a lot of content, like in case someone gets hit by a bus kind of content.
Needs a month to recover.
Yeah.
Well, try not to get hit by any buses, because you're both very funny. I think I'd miss you on my timeline.
Thanks.
So next question. So what are your favourite topics to explore in the articles?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think because it's so based heavily on our lives and what we're talking about, it really does depend on where our heads are at. Like, I think at times we might be critical of, how neurotypical people perceive us. Sometimes it might be like science studies and things going on that are like, I don't know, on television, or a documentary that we've watched about autistic people, which isn't great. Or maybe like the workplace.
Mm-hmm. My favourites are the ones where we send ourselves up, because I think I love the ones where we send up everyone else, but there's something quite nice and liberating about empowering, I'd say, about being able to take the piss out of your... Are we allowed to swear?
Yes.
Okay. About being allowed to take the piss out of yourself, because what people who aren't autistic think is that we are ill and that we are tragic and that we are not a laughing matter and that people really suffer and it's not to be laughed at. And to take that back and to, like, for example, an article that went up today was like, man upset to discover manic pixie dream girl, just regular autistic woman. And that's about me and my sort of dating history in my 20s and, years of, like, I guess my quirks being perceived as like this movie Zooey Deschanel thing at first, and then the guy going, oh my God. So that's really fun for us. And I think those articles tend to do best. And they also tend to be the ones that draw the little bit of criticism we do get, because people are like, oh, you're making fun of autistic women. But I think we're really comfortable with the fact that we're sending up ourselves, and we're not pointing and laughing at anybody. If we are, it's into a mirror. Like the dungarees piece the other day, somebody was a bit upset about that, and we just posted a picture of me in the same yellow dungarees that the girl was wearing in the stock image. We're like, no, it's all of us.
Yeah, most of the articles either have happened to us, are happening to us, or it's happened to somebody that we know, or so it's very much like, very, very personal.
Having said that, any resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
Yes,
not
absolutely.
Right about me,
Absolutely, but it is us that we're sort of poking fun at, not other autistics in the community.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got one last question. So do you have any plans for more writers, or are you just quite happy with everything as it is?
We would be delighted.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. We'd be delighted to have more writers. We've had Holly Smale write for us, which has been really lovely. She's a good friend of ours, and she has very generously written for us. And we do have other sort of writer friends who've offered, but we would really like to be able to pay people. We would like to bring in more voices from all walks of life within the autistic community. We don't want it to just be like two white cis ladies write autism, because that's not an accurate representation of what autism is and the people in our community. So we really are keen to include as many voices as possible, but we really don't want to take advantage of people. We want to be able to pay people. So if you want to see that happen, please support our Patreon. That would be amazing. That's where we are both paying ourselves so that we have a little bit more time to dedicate to this, because we both do other jobs. So not having to do lots of other things would obviously help us to focus on that. And we are going to, once we hit a certain threshold, put some budget aside every month and start to bring in more and more guest voices as that increases. So please donate. Autistics are very hungry and hungry for more writers.
Yes,
all right, that's fantastic. Thank you both of you, and maybe I'll see you again. But I'll certainly be laughing at your posts on Facebook. So thank you very much.
Oh, bless you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.